Well, hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of High Five Moments with my good friend Rob Key. And we have a special guest today. We have one of our illustrious leaders of First Fridays. We have Mr. Jim Johnson.
All
Jim
right.
Johnson, yes, Jim Johnson is the VP of Member Services at Three Rivers Credit Union and is also the co-founder of First Fridays. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, man.
Thanks for making it snow today on this interview day.
Just for you, man. Just for you.
It finally stopped, but that wasn't a good thing today.
No. Well, first question that we have for you is, during the midst of all this craziness that's going on, and obviously banks and credit unions aren't shutting down, how are you as a VP still stimulating creative energy in the office so that members can continue to carry that on throughout the day?
But it's an interesting question. I am sitting in a 22,000 square foot facility, and there's maybe 20 people here. So we know how to do social distancing here. Yeah. Two-thirds of my staff are working at home remotely, and then my call center, which is another one of my groups, is in the other building on two different floors, also social distancing. And then we have a lot of branch folks helping us out. So that I've done to keep things moving is I've got three leaders that report to me, and then I've been periodically reaching out to a couple of leaders or a couple of staff a week just to find out how are they doing, especially those who are working remotely. How's it going? Even basic things like, how's your internet access working?
That's awesome. What an encouraging way to keep the spirits lifted up. I have a second question here for you, Jim. Being in leadership, being a leader over other people, and having to, just keep that drive going. I was going to ask, what is one of the most important, you believe, the most important core values that an organization should have?
That's a good question. A couple of weeks ago, our lead team, which is the group of vice presidents and directors here, met, and our CEO asked us what have we been learning about what's been going on about ourselves, about our teams. And I don't know if this is necessarily a core value, but for me, it's something that I found to be very important. We can get really caught up in, how is my staff working remotely? Are they getting the work done? I have complete trust in my staff that they're working hard. But one thing I've noticed, because we're using technology that we've not used before, like all of this. So one thing I shared with the lead team is, as all this technology has allowed us to do our jobs in different places, and now we're removed from each other, for me, it became more important to get closer to the staff through personal reach outs, through phone calls, through delivering food to their house.
That's awesome. So personal care and relationship. I like that. Thank you. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, seeing how that First Fridays is about getting people connected with other leaders and taking different nuggets and taking different grasps of information, what are some books that you feel like have really shaped you as a leader to where you are today?
Those who know me know I like to read. I read a lot. I pay close attention to articles that I read in magazines or posts, and all of a sudden something will jump out. It's like, well, that's interesting. So usually when I say, a favorite book or a book that's impacted me, it's usually the one I'm in currently. And the one I'm reading right now is written by a guy named Ryan Holiday, and it's called The Obstacle is the Way. Pretty fascinating book about, we all face obstacles in our life, in our careers, things that seem to be tough. And it's what I love about the book, the chapters are really short. And he gives you some really solid nuggets about how we face difficult times, how we face obstacles. And it really comes down to our perception on how we view those things. We can look at situations even like this and say, oh, this is, we've never gone through anything. Throw our hands up and despair, say, what are we going to do? Even like First Fridays, we could have said, well, we can't meet anymore. I remember reaching out to the CEO of Lutheran once this all started to happen. And I said, Brady, I'm assuming we're not going to be allowed to come to the hospital. and just kind of checked in on him. And he said, I appreciate your sensitivity to that. He goes, you're right. He goes, I wish we could do it, but we can't. So I understood that. Yeah. But we didn't throw our hands up in despair and say, oh, well, First Fridays is over for now. We went virtual. Right. Yeah. And that's what that book talks about. You know, during those difficult times, look to do something differently, you know, call on innovation, and we continue to keep things going. I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. I know you've got a lot on your plate right now. I know with the, you know, the different things logistics that are happening right there at Three Rivers Credit Union, you know, just trying to navigate through all of that. So my question is, at the end of the day, when you go home, how do you, what's a specific way that you decompress?
A lot of times I continue to read, but I read more for enjoyment. I like whodunit type books, mysteries and things like that. That kind of just, that's a good way for me to relax. Of course, like probably every other American, you know, we're watching shows on Netflix and stuff like that. Just because, you know, about a couple times a week, we'll have, you know, kind of a family movie time. We watched just the other day, and everybody wanted to watch the World War I movie, 1917.
Really?
Wow, what a powerful movie.
Yeah.
And the kids really got into it. We had a really good discussion about, you know, war and what was going on, and so we do that.
Well, this is the final question of our time together. This one being, if you could break bread with anyone, who would you choose?
You know, I've been listening to some of the other high five things here, and I was anticipating that. I guess right now, the person I probably would like to spend some time with is the Vice President, Mike Pence. You know, I don't watch all of the briefings. I know people who know the Vice President. Actually, one of our former First Friday speakers is a close personal friend. Actually, two of our former speakers have been. So I know a little bit from their perspective, the kind of man that he is, but just be able to ask him, you know, how do you manage this? It's, you know, I can make simple decisions on, I don't know, just making slight adjustments throughout the day for my staff. But these guys are making potentially life and death decisions that don't affect, you know, 40 people. It affects 360 million people. It affects the economy, one of the major economies of the globe, while they're getting just hammered in the press, both here and abroad. How do you manage all that?
Yeah, that's a great one, Jim. I would definitely have the same question.
Yeah.
I watch our government and those that are in administration right now, and it's like, wow, how do you get any sleep at night? Just the decisions that you're trying to make. You know, not even whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just the burden of having to do that is huge. So, well, Jim, thank you so much for taking time with us. And before we go, and before we do our signature high five, being a co-founder of First Fridays, and of course, High Five is birthed out of First Fridays. Is there anything that you'd like to share with our First Five or our First Fridays community while we're in the midst of all this?
You know, I like what's happening with a lunch with a leader. But there's always a powerful thing to say, to stay connected with people, not wait for something, maybe like a high five where you can be somewhat a wallflower and just watching, but pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yeah.
So I would say just stay connected with people. Send them a note, pick up the phone and call them. These kinds of things are great, but just have a good conversation with somebody over the phone. You probably could even take a walk with somebody and probably still not get arrested. So,
that's right.
but work hard on staying connected with others.
That's awesome.
I think they need that in their own life for their perspective, for encouragement, so that they can also offer encouragement and offer perspective. So we've got that out.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, thank you so much. Stay connected, everybody. You heard what Jim said. Great stuff. Jim, thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Cam, it's always great to be with you, my brother.
Yes, likewise.
May God bless all of you guys in the midst of this and your families. And we're going to do our signature high five. So you ready? 3, 2, 1. High five.
All right.
All right. God
Thanks,
bless
guys.
you guys. Thank you.